To protect our most vulnerable, caregiver backgrounds need to be checked efficiently, effectively, and quickly, within each state and often across state lines. This is why the National Background Check Program is so important. A critical element of a statewide background check program is how a state will sustain the program in the long term. There are many sources of funding for states to consider. This is Oklahoma's story.
Oklahoma had a scheme common to many states. We had a name-based background check requirement for nursing homes. Our industry partners said, we love the idea of doing a national background check program. The problem is the cost. And they said, we don't see how we could afford it. The resistance issues that we had to the legislation revolved around that early question, which was how quickly people could be employed, that you were going to delay the provider's ability to get somebody on board quickly. A name-based background check costs $15. A fingerprint-based background check cost, well, in Oklahoma it was $41, but you have to add on the other cost. How do you compare those costs and not run everyone away? And they said, we don't see how we could afford it. We expressed, well, the grant allows us to explore. Let's just commit to the exploration. And that's where we started. When we were trying to identify who all we needed to work with, we looked at all of the different healthcare providers that would be affected by this and put a group together representing the healthcare providers and state government and the advocacy community. In working out the legislation, we started modeling financially what that would look like for us. The reality is that nurse aides may employ at multiple providers at the same time. So if you design your financial system in a way that says, okay, I don't have to capture the whole cost up front. If I can capture my cost over time, then I can keep the cost down to the providers. Once we figured out financially how we could make this work, then everybody was on board. All of the partners agreed, yeah, this model could work. You could use grant dollars to cover the upfront cost that you were going to have while your pool of applicants was building out. Once we had that support, everybody was willing to support the legislation. That was amazing. We had industry partners and the advocacy community both working in support of this bill. We ultimately had the support of both our House and Senate and our governor in implementing a bill that's got wide support among the industry, healthcare providers, advocacy community, and others. The great thing is that CMS, in building out the program, recognized that software was going to become a key component for every state and contracted themselves to have a software developer support the states. Once fingerprints were collected at sites across the state, those could be processed electronically and you could have results within a day. There's a synergy that comes from all these different states that are using this software. Every state has ideas. We've been building off the ideas of each state and improving the software that's serving all of the states. So that's been a really fortunate component to the grant program. Oklahoma's program has been active since February of 2014 is when we got our system up and online and started collecting fingerprints. It was our first fingerprint in a small town called Chickasha, Oklahoma, and somebody went in there that morning. The provider put their information in the system. The individual was fingerprinted shortly after lunch, and we had the results from the State Bureau of Investigation that evening. So within one day, that person was put in the system, fingerprinted, and we had the results. You can do this process and not delay hiring. Every employer can see immediately, oh, this person's already been fingerprinted. They've already been found eligible to work. All I have to do is do a current registry check, update that, pay my fee, enroll them as my employee, and I'm ready to go. There's no waiting. This program is also about equity in the screening process. It's about creating a waiver process that allows people to work and potentially expands the labor pool of the provider community because you've built in a waiver process that allows people to work who previously couldn't work. 5% of our applicants have out-of-state crimes that would not have been identified on a state name-based background check. So we've identified those, and we've identified folks with some serious crimes who are not working in Oklahoma, who would have if we were not doing the background check program. These systems that we're building are important safeguards for vulnerable populations. Once our bill passed and our system got up and running, the value of the service provided to healthcare providers and to obviously our citizens is worth it.